Hi, my name is Samir Panoply. I'm in 7th grade and I started a website called successview.org. Success isn't a one-size-fits-all idea. It has a different meaning for each individual person. So I want to find out what success truly means. So I'm here to share the success stories of people who worked long and hard for their success and what success means to them, the unsung heroes of our society. So today I'm going to interview Mr. Peter Ashton, who is a process manager at Era Energy. So thank you, Mr. Ashton, for letting me interview today.
You're welcome. It's a pleasure to be here.
So can you tell me about yourself?
Sure. I grew up in England and came to the States to go to college, and got my bachelor's in petroleum engineering, so I really like the oil and gas industry. Met my wife there. She's an American, so I decided to stay in America, and then had various jobs in the oil industry once I've graduated. I got my master's in petroleum as well, and then started work. We started work in Denver, spent 3 or 4 years in Denver, and then moved to Bakersfield, and I've been in Bakersfield the last I think it's like 21 years.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah.
And for the past 20 years, I've been working for Era Energy, which is an oil and gas company based here in Bakersfield. Had several different jobs during that time. Started as a production engineer, moved to a production supervisor, then an engineering manager and an operations manager. That was all in the field operations. And then about 6 years ago, they decided to move me into our main office, our main headquarters, first as an IT project manager,
Yeah.
and then as a process manager. So that's what I've been doing the last 4 or 5 years as a process manager.
So what does a process manager do?
Good question. So an operations manager oversees what's going on in the field. A process manager is more focused on the different processes we have across the company. So in my case, I started in subsurface total process reliability. So that's the workover rigs that pull the wells if the wells have problems downhole. Now each production unit has their own group that looks at the workover units, but no one really looks across the organization. And that's my role as a process manager. So if someone's doing something really good in Ventura, how do we take that over to our operations in San Otto or Kalinga or something like that?
Oh, so you're the entire,
Yes, I get to look across everything, right? I don't have a very specific, in-depth one, but it's more across the organization. Yeah.
So is this what you always wanted to do?
I always wanted to be in the oil and gas industry, yes. When I was going through high school, I took a class in geology and really enjoyed geology. And then at the time, and I would date myself here, there was a TV show called Dallas. And it was a great show about the oil industry in Texas.
Yep.
And I got hooked on the oil industry. So when I was going to go to university, I got the opportunity to go to Colorado School of Mines in Golden, Colorado. And one of the degrees was in petroleum engineering, so that was a great fit. So,
were there, any, petroleum or oil, factories, industries, or colleges that actually focused on that in England?
There were a few, because oil production in the North Sea in England is pretty big.
Yeah.
But there weren't many that offered that degree. It was just happened chance. There was someone from England that made a lot of money in the oil industry, and he set up a scholarship.
Oh, wow.
So he went to Colorado School of Mines, and he set the scholarship, and he said every 4 years they offer this scholarship to someone from the UK to come to Colorado. And it just happened that it looked interesting, so I wrote off, got the scholarship, and came to the States.
So one in how many?
Well, they only offer it to one person every 4 years.
In the entire wow.
Yes.
That's a lot of.
Yeah.
So, you came from England. What were some challenges that you had when you moved over to America?
Well, I'd never been to America before.
Yeah.
Right? So I came over on my own. Went from London to Denver, landed in Denver, didn't know anyone. So that's a challenge. But once you're in college, everyone has come from somewhere else, right? So you're kind of in it together. So that was a nice thing, right? Everyone else was adapting, being away from home. I just happened to be a lot further away from home. But some of the things that were in the States that we didn't have in England, we didn't have like takeout pizza.
Oh,
that was a good thing.
Really?
I should have set that up in England, right? Because that was a really good thing. And just the way of life. You really needed a car in the US. You know, didn't need that as much in England. You know, public transportation was very good. So it's just little things like that. And then all my family was still in England, so that was a little harder. But like I said, being in college along with everyone else, that helped a lot.
Yeah, so why Bakersfield? You know, why did you come to California, you know, not just stay in Denver?
Yeah, we really liked Denver. But the company I was working for at the time, which was Dowell Schlumberger, I'd worked for them for, I think it was 2-3 years in the field and then a year in their sales office. So it's a service company for the oil and gas industry, and they often like to rotate people around. So they were planning to move me in the western area, and some of their other locations were Rock Springs, Wyoming, Vernal, Utah, Williston, North Dakota. So Bakersfield sounded really good.
Yeah.
And at the same time, my wife is, you know, an engineer as well.
Yeah.
And so we had to look at how do we manage both careers. And Bakersfield gave us the opportunity to do that a lot better than some of the other areas.
You know, so what kind of engineer was she?
Her degree is in civil engineering, but I've been successful in converting her to petroleum. So she works as a reservoir engineer at ERA as well.
So how do you think being the success, you know, petroleum engineer helped you to be successful?
I think being in a career that you really like helps a lot, right? So I had that advantage. It was something that I grew up, I really was excited by the opportunities. So then having that opportunity when you're in there, it helps you advance because you've got that passion and that energy for it. And everything that comes up, you see more as a challenge and something to overcome rather than just a job. There were a couple of other things that helped me though, in general. Right before I came to the States, I went through an Outward Bound course, and it was 3 weeks thrown together with a group of people I didn't know, and mainly camping and exploring and things. And that was a great setup. It gave me a lot of time to think and get ready for coming to the States. So it's kind of like a trial run.
Yeah.
So that was good. And then just, you know, how I came to the States and things like that. There's lots of almost forks in the road as you go along, and not being afraid to take one of those and try it. It's like my dad said when I got the scholarship, he was like, go try it. If it doesn't work, you can always come back to England, go to university here, and you haven't lost anything. But go try it and do those things. So I think that's a big thing. Look at every one of those opportunities and say, yes, this might be a stretch. For me, going into IT, it wasn't my background, it was a stretch, but it was good to learn it and understand it. So taking the opportunity to do that helps a lot as well.
Yeah, that was a lot of steps, you know, to go through, you know, this IT and then switch back to petroleum and, you know, go to England and come to America, you know, different countries. That's huge. So, you know, who was someone that you looked up to?
Let's see. I think, well, my dad from kind of the professional and the learning side, because he was a professor at Birmingham University back in England. So he had his PhD in chemical engineering. So just from a knowledge base that, you know, my dad was one saying, yes, he'd gone through and learned a lot of the technical side. Going through you always kind of have mentors in companies, right? So I've had a couple of people in ERA that have been either managers or VPs and developed a relationship with them, and that's helped me as I've moved forward. So it's always important to find some of those people that you have a relationship with that can kind of not officially, but kind of help you out informally.
Yeah, so what does success mean to you?
I think it's different for every person, right? For me, success is looking after my family, right? That's the most important thing, right? Looking after Michelle and Connor and making sure that they're kept and, that they have everything they need. So that's big. And then there's the professional success, right? Moving forward in the company. Doesn't mean being CEO or having your own company, but enabling the company to be successful. I think that's important. And then you've got the outside as well. I really enjoy, volunteering either as a baseball coach or in scouts and things like that. To me, helping the community is another form of being successful as well.
So you mentioned scouts, Boy Scouts. How does that affect the community and affect what you do?
Okay. Well, it's a great opportunity for boys and for adults to help them out. It started in England, right, with Lord Baden-Powell, and I was involved in Scouts in secondary school, which is like from age 11 to 18, and had a great time doing that, going out camping and learning those skills.
Yeah.
So when my son Connor was 6 and wanted to join the Cub Scouts, I thought, great. It was nice to get back into that. And over the time, I've helped lead the Cub Scouts as a Cub Master for the park. And then as he's bridged over and joined Scouts, become more and more involved. And as you know, has been part of our troop 442. I'm now the troop master of 442. But I think Scouts it's a very important balance to the academic side, right? Scouts gives a great opportunity to learn more about the outdoors and instill those values in young men as they move forward, right? I mean, it's founded upon those 12 principles of the Scout Oath, and we really try and stress those and teach the skills. Just things like cooking, right? You've been out there on camp, learning to cook, build fires, tie knots, all these great skills and develop those leadership skills. I know now you're an assistant patrol leader, and leading a group of people is very different, but it's a good skill to learn. So I found that it helped me going through it when I was growing up, and then when I was in college, I became the president of my fraternity and things like that. So I think those leadership skills that you learn going through Scouts help a lot as well.
How do you think the volunteering part of it, really helps you to become a leader, and it helps you become, a really important person?
I mean, any of the activities that you volunteer for, again, you don't have to do it. So I think if you do volunteer, it means it's something you're very interested in and you want to succeed. So on the other side, I think it's very important. If you do volunteer, then you commit yourself, right, to doing it. It's not something you can do sort of, well, we do it part-time, but you can't do it.
You can't do it
just a little bit here and there, right?
Take care of yourself,
And it takes a lot of time. It does. There are days that you don't have to deal with it, but there's a lot of days that you have to answer questions or plan out your activities or go camping on the weekend and things like that. But I get so much more out of it, and it's great to see the Scouts develop and see them proceed. And you going through and you just got, one of your rank advancements. I thought that was great to see that.
Yeah.
So I get a lot out of it as well.
So what's a message that you want to send to my generation and everyone?
Take those opportunities, right? Things pop up, and it's not saying bounce from job to job every year or so, but when you have those opportunities inside a job, really look at them and say, well, yeah, maybe it's a strange direction right now, but it's going to help me in the long run. So don't be afraid to jump and take those opportunities.
Thank you, Mr. Ashton, for sharing your success story.
No problem. It's been a pleasure talking with you, and thank you for asking the questions.
So that is the success story of Miss Peter Ashton. Thank you.